London Cannon Street Station was built on the site where the Halifax Merchant Steel Yard had been based from the 10th century until 1598. The site was proposed in 1860 by the Southeastern Railway in response to its rival, the London Chatham and Dover Railway, extending a line into the City of London as far north as Ludgate Hill. The SER had already made plans to extend its line towards Charing Cross, but decided that it should complement this with a terminus in the city. In 1861, a company obtained an act for the station in Cannon Street, a short distance from Mansion House and the Bank of England. In addition to taking traffic from the LC and DR, the new station would provide a direct rail link between the city and the West End, over which a journey could be made in the fraction of the time taken travelled by road. The approach was a 60-chain branch of the line to Charing Cross, west of London Bridge. Work started on the station in its approach in July of 1863, and construction work was undertaken by the Lucas brothers. The station was designed on the 1st of September 1866 at a cost of £4 million. The original building was designed by Sir John Hawkshaw and John Wolfe Barry and is characterised by two Christopher Wren-style towers, 23 foot square and 135 foot high, which faced onto the River Thames. The towers supported an iron train shed 700 foot long and crowned by a high single arch, almost semicircular of glass and iron. The station is carried up over Upper Thames Street on a brick viaduct 700 foot long and contained 27 million bricks. Below the viaduct exist the remains of a number of Roman buildings, which form a scheduled monument. The bridge was open to pedestrians between 1872 and 1877, and they paid a toll of half a D. The 5-storey City Terminus Hotel, which fronted the station, was opened in May of 1867. It was an Italian-style hotel and forecourt designed by E.M. Barry, and it provided many of the station's passenger facilities as well as an appropriate architectural frontispiece to the station. This arrangement was very similar to that put in place at Charing Cross. The hotel was also built by the Lucas brothers. The hotel, though, was not profitable and was over £47,000 in debt by 1870. The City Terminus Hotel was renamed the Cannon Street Hotel in 1879. In July of 1920, the hotel was the venue for the Foundation Congress of the Communist Party of Great Britain. Most of the hotel was closed in 1931, but the public rooms were kept open for meetings. The rest was converted into offices and renamed Southern House. The hotel is referred to as the Fire Station sermon section of T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland. Upon its opening, Cannon Street was the stopping point for all services to and from Charing Cross, including boat trains to continental Europe. A shuttle service between the two stations ran every 20 minutes, became a popular way of travelling between the city and the West End. However, the opening of the District Railway as far as Blackfriars caused traffic to decline, and its extension to Mansion House the following year reduced it further. The SER's route could not compete with the Underground, which was more direct and reliable, but suburban traffic to Cannon Street remained popular, and the bridge was widened to 120 foot wide by the late 1880s, allowing 10 tracks with sidings. The rebuilt bridge was opened on the 13th of February 1892. The signal boxes outside the station were upgraded the following year. The SER merged with the London Chatham and Dover Railway in 1899 to form the Southeastern and Chatham Railway. The following year, the station was earmarked for part-time closures and it relied primarily on business travel, but this was rejected. A further proposal to run a monorail between London Bridge and Cannon Street at the cost of £100,000 was also abandoned. The London and South Western Railway became interested in using Cannon Street as a terminus, as it would allow a connection between Waterloo and the city. Work on strengthening the bridge by the addition of 6 new 443-foot girders between the existing ones was completed in 1913. Most Cannon Street train services ceased during World War I. Continental boat trains were stopped on the 15th of November 1914 and rerouted to Victoria. The station stopped being served by these through services from Charing Cross on the 31st of December 1916 and was closed on Sundays. Services were further reduced on the 1st of May 1918 when it was closed after 3 p.m. on Saturdays and between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. Mondays to Fridays. This allowed Cannon Street to be used as a goods depot for war supplies. Between the 5th of June and 28th of June 1926, the station was closed to allow the Southern Railway to carry out various works, including the rebuilding of platforms, relaying of the tracks, and installation of a new system for electrical signalling, the 4-colour aspect colour light scheme. The station was also renovated and the glass roof cleaned. A number of platforms were reduced from 9 to 8, with 5 set aside for the new electric trains. The signal box spanning the width of the railway bridge was removed, and in July of 1939 Cannon Street was closed for a week following a fire in Borough Market which prevented any trains accessing it. The station, which had been subject to structural neglect prior to World War II, suffered extensive bomb damage and was hit by several incendiary devices which damaged the roof. A highly explosive projectile also hit Platform 8. The original glass roof had been removed before the war in an attempt to save it. However, the factory in which the roof was stored itself was badly bombed, destroying the roof. Following nationalisation of the railways in 1948, the station was managed by the Southern Region of the British Railways. The station's prime location, coupled with the property boom in the 1950s and the need for British Rail to seek alternative revenue streams, made war-damaged Cannon Street a key target for property developers. Steam trains stopped running from Cannon Street in 1961. Various plans were mooted for the reconstruction of the station, from the installation of a new ticket hall and concourse under Southern House in 1955, as part of the British Railways modernisation plan, with the construction of a car park estimated at a cost of £225,000, and even a helipad. In 1962, the British Transport Corporation entered into an agreement with the Town and County Properties for the construction of a multi-storey office building above the station with 154,000 square foot of floor space. The cost of the development was £2.5 million and was scheduled for completion in June of 1965. In preparation for redevelopment, the remains of the train shed roof would be demolished in 1958, and Barry's Hotel, which had been used as offices since 1931, soon followed in 1960. The architect selected for design of the new building was John Paulson, who was good friends with Graham Tunbridge, a British Rail surveyor whom he had met during the war. Paulson took advantage of this friendship to win contracts for redevelopment of various British Rail termini. He paid Tunbridge a weekly income of £25 and received in return building contracts, including the rebuilding of Waterloo and East Croydon stations. At his trial in 1974, Paulson admitted that shortly after receiving the Cannon Street building contract, he had given Tunbridge a cheque for £200 and a suit worth £80. Paulson was later found guilty of corruption charges and given a 7-year concurrent sentence. Tunbridge received a 15-month suspended sentence and a £4,000 fine for his role in the affair. All that remains of the original station architect now are the twin 120-foot yellow brick towers at the country end and parts of the low flanking walls. The station's twin brick towers were Grade 2 listed in 1972. In 1974, the station was closed for 5 weeks from the 2nd of August to the 9th of September to enable alterations to be made to the track and approaches to London Bridge to be re-signalled. Traffic was diverted to London Bridge, Charing Cross and Blackfriars. On the 4th of March 1976, a provisional Irish Republican Army bomb of around £10 exploded at the empty commuter train leaving Cannon Street, injuring 8 people and another train travelling alongside. On the 15th of February 1984, it was reported in the Times that Cannon Street was to close. At the time, the station had been closed for weekends and evenings, and the publication of British Rail's timetable for 1984 and 1985 revealed it would lose all direct off-peak services to the southeast. Services from Sevenoaks, Orpington, Hayes, Dartford, Sidcup, Bexley Heath, Woolwich, Lewisham and Greenwich would instead terminate at London Bridge except during peak hours. This was denied by British Rail Southern manager David Kirby, who pointed out that it had invested £10 million in redecking the railway bridge, and that passengers travelling from the southeast during off-peak hours would most likely visit the West End, not the city. In 1986, the Twin Towers were restored to the project, costing £242,000. The works revealed that the East Tower still contained a large water tank, which was used during the days of steam traction to replenish locomotives and to power the station's hydraulic systems. The brickwork was repaired, cleaned and repointed, and the weather vanes gilded to complement the dome of nearby St Paul's Cathedral. This work was one of the Railway Heritage Trust's first projects and coincided with an exhibition held at the station in August of the same year to mark its 150th anniversary. In the 1980s, there was another property boom, and British Rail again began looking into further commercial uses for Cannon Street land space, including the 500,000 foot square of office space. The air rights over the platform for the rear of Paulson's offices were sold to Speehawk, which appointed Bovis Construction to build a freestanding structure comprised of 2 office blocks on a 6,000-ton steel deck constructed over the station's 8 platforms. The Cannons Club, a sports club, was founded beneath the station's arches around this time and quickly became one of the most prestigious squash clubs in the country. Intercity, the high-speed arm of British Rail, subsequently sponsored the National Squash Championships and National Squash Challenge. The largest office block, the Atrium building, provides 190,000 foot square of office space on 6 floors and is linked to the smaller building, the River building, via a glazed link raised through the central glazed atrium. The river building, which has 2 stories, is built on a steel deck and contained within the station's 2 flank walls, which were rebuilt, providing 95,000 square foot of office space. This project building slightly beyond the restored Twin Towers, which form the riverside boundary of the development. The atrium building was later let to the London International Finance's Futures and Options Exchange. The river building has a 1-acre roof garden. The project cost of around £500,000 was laid to comply with planning restrictions which required the building to be low and flat to maintain the sight lines from St Paul's to Tower Bridge. Planning permission was granted in March of 2007 to replace the Polson building with a new air rights building designed by Foggo Associates. Hines, the US developer, led a £360 million project involving the demolition of the Polson's office block, replacing it with a mixed use of development containing more than 400,000 square foot of office space alongside 17,000 square foot of station retail space. The redevelopment was part of a larger regeneration programme undertaken by Network Rail, and modernisation and unlock the commercial potential of the main London termini. Euston and London Bridge were also redevelopment. Network Rail's Director of Commercial Policy said the finished station will be less congested and more accessible for passengers. Cannon Street won the award of Major Station of the Year at the 2013 National Rail Awards. In January 2015, the station's opening hours were extended from 5 in the morning till 1 in the morning, Monday to Sunday. Prior to this, the station had been closed on Sundays and during the evenings, and several services which had previously terminated at Charing Cross were diverted into Cannon Street as a result of the Thameslink programme works. Some of these services reverted to terminated at Charing Cross following the completion of the works, while services from the Greenwich Line and from New Cross and St John's will permanently run into Cannon Street due to the removal of Spa Road Junction. So to get us started here at London Cannon Street, we see the arrival of 376036 and 376003, terminating with a Southeastern service from Gravesend. Next for departure is 465004 and 465172 with the 0942 Southeastern service to Dartford. One in, one out now with the departure of 375808 and 375913 and the arrival of 465018 and 465904. Working 5J11 from London Cannon Street to Grove Park down carriage sidings and terminating with the Southeastern service off of Orpington respectively. Up next for departure is 465904 and 465018 with the 0953 Southeastern service to Slade Green. Arriving to terminate with a Southeastern Circular service from Slade Green is 376022 and 376006. Also arriving to terminate with a Southeastern Circular service off Slade Green is 465901 and 465158. Up next, two departures 376003 and 376036 with the 0957 Southeastern service to Orpington. And next to depart on the far side is 376006 and 376022 with the 1001 Southeastern Circular service to Slade Green. Arriving to terminate with a Southeastern service off Gravesend is 376021 and 376007. Departed next out the station is 465158 and 465901 with the 1012 Southeastern service to Gravesend. Arriving next to terminate with a Southeastern City Beam service off Orpington is 707-006 and 707-007. Next out, two departees 376-007 and 376-021 with the 1023 Southeastern Circular Service to Slade Green. Arriving to terminate 7 minutes late with a Southeastern Circular Service from Slade Green is 376-005 and 376-013. And whilst that comes in, disappearing off next is 707-007 and 707-006 with the 1027 Southeastern City Beam service to Orpington. Also arriving to terminate with a Southeastern Circular Service off Slade Green is 465-028, 465-171 and 466-029. And quickly turned around, ready to go. 465-6029, 465-171 and 465-028. Depart 6 minutes late with 1031 Southeastern Circular Service to Slade Green. And your final train of the session is 376031 and 376016, terminating with a Southeastern service from Gravesend. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed what you saw, click on the 2 videos here at the end screen. Helps out the channel. Also, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you are new and got this far. And we'll see you all in the next video, folks, wherever that may take us. We'll see you then, folks.